Birdland Tonight is your place for Orioles post-game coverage for fans by fans. All of the hosts on Birdland Tonight are Oriole fans that are either writing blogs or doing podcasts about Orioles. Head on over to birdlandtonight.com to learn more about the hosts and other shows and websites that they're a part of. And head on over to Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch and subscribe, follow, or like, whatever the appropriate thing is, to Birdland Sports. Finally, share, retweet, and tell your friends about Birdland Tonight so that we're all joined into the conversation after every Orioles game this year. We'll see you guys in just a couple minutes. Head on over to the comment sections on Facebook and Twitch and YouTube to start interacting now. We'll see you soon. Did you know Birdland Tonight is also a podcast? Head on over to your favorite podcast app and subscribe to Birdland Tonight to get the audio of this show every morning ready for your commute. Thanks for joining us. We'll get started in just 1 minute. Make sure that you have subscribed to us on your favorite social media. Look up Birdland Sports on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. Like, follow, retweet, share. See you in a moment.
Seven, six, five, four, three, two, one.
All right, welcome, folks. Bob, how's it going?
Well, I've been better, especially over the weekend until this game tonight. But, at least baseball season's back and we're watching the Orioles again.
You're right. I don't think anybody really thought that we were going to go 162-0. The first loss had to come sometime. Unfortunately, it was against the Yankees. But we saw a lot tonight. To be quite honest, we saw a very different team than we saw up in Fenway. So that was interesting. Let's kind of run through it a little bit. Do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I thought Jorge Lopez, he came out his first start of the year after a pretty good spring training, went 4 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 4 runs, 3 walks, and 5 strikeouts. And of course, that cheap home run to Aaron Judge out in the right field stands. But I thought he looked pretty darn good in the first 3 or 4 innings, and then
You
it
know,
really just came all apart in that fifth with his
and
control.
up to that point, I felt like it was a very similar game to game two up in Fenway when the Orioles, essentially pulled Matt Harvey at right about the same time. You saw, to me, it was a very similar situation. The biggest difference was, I think Lopez left two on base when Sean Armstrong, who had just come back from paternity leave, this is his first appearance. And he comes in, and I'm trying to remember now if he loaded the bases and
I
walked that.
I think the bases were already loaded when he came in, so he came in a really tough spot there.
He did. And what do you think? Let's play. If you were Brandon Hyde, obviously in hindsight, we can all say now, obviously that was the wrong choice. We saw something similar happen though, up in Boston when instead of once Matt Harvey started to get a little bit shaky, we saw Adam Plutko come in and kind of save the day. And did you have the same feeling? Did you think that Armstrong was going to kind of come in and save the day for this one as well?
I thought it was like you said, he's coming straight off paternity leave. Who knows when the last time he threw a side session or got some work in. That's just a really tough spot. I think you have to go to the bullpen right there after Lopez walks the bases loaded. Clearly didn't have the stuff that he had shown earlier in the game. I'm not sure if Armstrong was the guy to go to. I wonder if, Tanner Scott, I mean, he doesn't have the best control either, but he's been pretty good. He's one of your best guys. You want to shut things down right there, or maybe they should have went to Max Roller a little bit earlier. He got the job done later in the
Oh,
game.
no kidding. And what came across my mind was Wade LeBlanc. Could Wade LeBlanc come in and kind of fill that long relief role? But it ended up being Sean Armstrong. He just pitched a third of an inning. He was only tacked on with two earned runs, but that monster grand slam by Juan Carlos Stanton. I wouldn't say that it put the nail in the coffin, but man, it's really an uphill battle. When you're facing a 6-0, comeback.
Yeah, for sure. And it's the way Jordan Montgomery was pitching, he always seems to have our number. He was sharp our first time facing a lefty this season. Yeah, at that point, I had a little faith that we could come back, but we didn't even get a run on the board.
But let's get to it, though. Let's talk about Max Stroller. This was among several Orioles who kind of made their debut today. And as we said, it looked like a very different team than what we saw up in Baltimore, which was essentially the same lineup for 3 days straight after swapping out Chance Cisco and Valleca getting a little bit of playing time after Austin Hayes pulled a hamstring. So let's just kind of jump in. What did you think about Stroller?
I thought he looked good. I mean, he showed great composure there. Bases loaded, Aaron Judge up to plate, first major league game. Jitters had to be going all over the place, but he really buckled down. He had that splitter working pretty well and flashed a nice little fastball at 94 miles an hour. And then seemed like he got some confidence after that. He got that out, and then he had a nice smooth seventh inning, and then eighth inning he kind of looked like he was losing steam a little bit, maybe an adrenaline dump, but he got through it and yeah, looked great. I mean, I thought Tyler Wells was going to be the better of the two Rule 5 picks, but Max Roller now he's put his name on the board in competition.
Yeah, and going two and 2/3 looked absolutely rock solid. And again, what a memorable MLB debut, bases loaded, Yankee Stadium, going up against Aaron Judge. Now, here's what I want to know. If you're Max Roller, do you try to see if you can find Aaron Judge after the game and see if he'll sign your ball? Is that going a little too much?
Maybe like secretly find a way to do that. I don't know if you want that to get out in the open, but I mean, it's not a bad idea.
I think hey, at the end of the game, it's just a game. Yeah, these guys get paid millions of dollars, and I would like to think that Aaron Judge is the kind of guy that would do that. But again, he is a Yankee, so
Maybe he can get his Uncle Ben to to get them to do it next time they're in town.
Yeah. Let's make a call. So we did see a couple other guys come in. So this was the first time that we saw Ramon Urias play second base, and other than I think he came in at the ninth inning as kind of a defensive
Right.
replacement up in Fenway. We also saw Pat Valleca man first base, and then we also saw the debut of Ryan McKenna out in right field. What'd you make of all that?
Yeah, it was definitely seemed like the B team tonight. I mean, first lefty starter. I don't know. I mean, that might have had something to do with it. I think they want to get Rio Ruiz at second base when they're facing a righty, so that was a good place to get Urias in there. And I guess Santander, excuse me. I think they're just trying to give him a little bit of rest every couple days here in the beginning, coming off that oblique injury late in spring. So, what better time to get McKenna in the lineup right away, get those jitters out of the way, and then he should be good to go. I thought he looked good at the plate, working that walk in his third at bat. And yeah, let's go back to the tried and true lineup tomorrow night.
Fingers crossed. I know that it looks like Austin Hayes is going to be out on the 10-day IL. So I don't know if we're going to basically see Santander in right field, Mullins in center, and then maybe McKenna out and left with Mountcastle back to DH, or it'll be interesting to see what Hyde does tomorrow as we go back out for game 2 against the Yankees, facing none other than Garrett Cole. So that's going to be a lot of fun to see.
That'll be a tough game.
Yeah. We, you and I were, texting a little bit back and forth today on what we might talk about, and I think maybe the things have changed a little bit, but we tossed around the idea of way early commentary on manager Hyde. How is he, so far coming out of spring training, coming out of the wild 2020 year? Again, I actually think it's really difficult. It's a difficult situation to be put in for a, working in a system where you're part of a rebuilding program, but still tasked with going out there and winning ball games. But how do you think he's done, coming out of spring training and the first week into 2021?
All things considered, I think he's done a pretty admirable job. It seems like he really gets the guys fired up. Seems like players love playing for him. Real players coach. I mean, he doesn't give you too much information with his interviews with the media, but that's not his job. His job is to go out there, coach these guys up, and get them to play hard. And I think they do that. I mean, usually when there's a rebuilding club, the first manager that's in there kind of just takes his lumps in, and they hire a new guy once the team is competitive. But I think there's a chance that Hyde could stick around through this whole thing and really be the guy that takes us to the promised land if and when that eventually happens. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the guys really rally around him. I love the kind of relationship that it seems like he has with some of the players. The stories, for example, that Matt Harvey told when they told him that he made the 40-man roster, or that he'd be kind of they'd be selecting his contract, and they gave him a hard time, and kind of played it like it was bad news. No, just kidding, we got you. So it just sounds like he's a fun guy and a clubhouse guy. And we had talked on a podcast previously on Birdland Tonight about who was the leader in the clubhouse, and oftentimes you get these managers that are well into their kind of 60s and even 70s that they go and get the lineup, and they're not really friends, they're not really buddies. Not to say that Hyde is friends with these guys, but it definitely seems like he's a guy in the clubhouse that's very relatable for a lot of these younger players. So I definitely like that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, there's nothing not to like so far. I mean, I think even last year in 2020, we were 25 and 35 and right in the thick of it until right at the end there. So he really, I don't know, he's getting more than at least places like Fangraphs are predicting us with the 0.0.
You're saying there's a chance. I saw that we moved up to 0.1%, so they had to alter their prediction. So we're ticking in the right direction. Yeah. And I really liked, now here's a question. When do you think he knew that he was going to ask Rio Ruiz to play second base? Do you think that that's something that he had the back of his mind as soon as they had signed Miguel Franco? Or is that something that kind of on the last day or two of spring training, thought maybe we might try this out?
Maybe a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I bet you it was like Elias, Sigmaidal, and him put their heads together, said, oh, maybe we could try this out, get Rio some at-bats over here. And then I think maybe they just lucked out a little bit with how well he's played the position with such limited time to actually get prepared for it. I mean, God, opening day, we didn't get to talk about it, but he made 3 excellent plays. He looks pretty solid out there. So maybe they actually found something. Now, if he could only hit, he could stick around.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And hitting tonight was slim to none. We did see Cedric Mullins. Who else did we got here? Pedro Severino got a bat. Freddie Galvis had a nice single up the middle, and Ramon Urias, had a hit as well. But just 4 hits for a team that's coming off of 17 hits last night. So that was kind of rough to see. You're hoping that it's not something that continues for the rest of the week up in New York.
Yeah, maybe they should have saved some of those runs from yesterday, carried them over.
If only that was allowed.
Right.
So we do have to play the Yankees 18. I think they play them. Is it 19 times that they play kind of each opponent in the division?
Yeah, I think it's 18 or 19.
So we've got to play these guys, many more times. What did you think of our first game against the Yankees? What do you think of their lineup?
Their lineup's pretty good. It's pretty good. Hopefully one day we can, match that kind of firepower 1 through 9 in the lineup. But we were competitive with them. It was really just that one inning that kind of blew things open. Other than that, it would have been 2-0. I know you can't really just eliminate a whole inning, but it felt more competitive than maybe the last few times, especially like 2019 when I think they were like 18-1 against us. So
right.
Yeah, I think we're getting there.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the box score and seeing that really they only had 7 hits. So that's really kind of a testament to, although we did, get that, 6 runs. Was it 6 runs in the 5th? Or 5?
Yeah, 5 runs in the 5th.
Walked one in, and then the grand slam. But yeah, other than that, I think that the pitching, was somewhat solid. I really wasn't impressed by Paul Fry. We really didn't talk about him, but he did not look like his best self out there. Hopefully we can get a better performance the next time we see him on the mound. But yeah, looking through the box score, we see that Aaron Judge had 2 hits. Of course, we know that one was the home run. He also had a walk. DJ LeMahieu also had 2 walks and a hit. So both those guys at the top of their lineup, not too shabby. Of course, Juan Carlos Stanton DHing, 4-run grand slam. That's kind of ugly to see. And then Gleyber Torres with a hit. Other than that, it looks like Urshela had a hit as well, but only 7 hits against a really stout Yankees lineup. I'm trying to think, in a regular season game, I think I'll take that. Our guys need to match that. It's going to be difficult to put up 7 runs with 7 hits. But I think if we can limit the Yankees tomorrow to 7 hits and put a few together ourselves and put a few runs on the board, I think we can be competitive with these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, tonight it wouldn't have mattered if we kept them to 1 run. Obviously, we got shut out. We only had 4 hits. Just wasn't happening with the bats tonight. So, hopefully, they just wasted a grand slam that they didn't need, and we'll get them back either one of the next 2 games. I think I'd be happy just to win one of these 3, especially coming off 3-0. We head to the homestand with a winning record, guaranteed 500. So let's get back to playing these Red Sox. We seem to have their number.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm kind of excited that we get to play them for our home opener. Let's kind of look at what the rest of the week kind of holds for us. I think tomorrow night we've got, let's see here.
I think Dean Kramer making his season debut.
Yeah, versus Garrett Cole. But here's what I like about that. To be fair, in the last spring training tune-up when we faced the Yankees, they weren't, the Orioles weren't afraid of Cole. And they actually hit him around a little bit. I think that Cole only lasted something like 3 or 4 innings. So I like that the Orioles have already seen him. They kind of know his stuff. Now I'm sure that, Cole, took that, went back, tweaked with it a little bit. The guy is an ultimate professional. But the key to tomorrow night's game is obviously going to be how long does Cole go and whether or not Dean Kramer can really, hang with him.
Yeah, exactly. And Kramer, he had 2 of his 4 starts last year in his brief stint in the major leagues were against the Yankees, and he pitched pretty well against them. So at least going in, he should have at least a little bit of confidence that he can hang with them. He knows that. He's done it before. So hopefully he pitches well, and we just maybe scrape together a run or two against Cole, get him out of the game as early as possible, and come away with a victory.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting because I did note that they brought in Adolis Chapman to kind of finish out the game, pitching getting 3 strikeouts. I think he did walk Severino, but are they just kind of getting him warmed up? Is he going to be available to close? If it's a tight game tomorrow, I assume yes. But we really didn't get to see a lot of the Yankees bullpen. And again, looking back, you're right. Last year, as I remember it, as Kramer faced the Yankees twice, one in Camden Yards, the other was in Yankee Stadium, and fared well for himself. And he's looked really good in spring training. This is going to be his 2021 debut. So I like our chances.
Yeah, and hopefully it is a close game, or at least we have a lead. And I don't know if even if Chapman pitches again tomorrow, I feel like he might not be as sharp, having thrown 20 some innings,
Right.
tonight.
Now, we do kind of have to bring up kind of the breaking news that you informed me of. I think a lot of us were hoping that Camden Yards may be selected as the site for the All-Star game, as the Major League Baseball had decided to move it out of Atlanta. But you had informed me right before the post-game show that wasn't the case, and I'll let you kind of tell us where it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, Buster only tweeted out that it is expected that the All-Star game will now be taking place at Coors Field in Colorado. Now, I'm curious what you think about that.
It's going to be interesting because obviously Coors known as kind of a home run park with the thin air out there. The other thing that's a bit interesting is what do you think of this new baseball? Is the new baseball? I need to kind of log in and see if they've been hitting as many home runs up at Coors Field. At least watch that for the next couple of weeks to see if that's going to be in effect. But hopefully the Orioles have probably Trey Mancini. For the Orioles out there, and hopefully he gets a chance to knock one out of the park. But yeah, it is unfortunate that we don't get to see Camden Yards host the All-Star game. But to be quite honest, I once upon a time lived out in Denver, Colorado, went to a few games when Coors Stadium first opened up. It's a fun ballpark. Denver's a fun city. It should be a good place, and I'm excited for the fans out there.
Yeah, honestly, if it wasn't going to be here, I'm happy to have it in Coors Field. Home Run Derby should be electric, and should be a fun atmosphere for the All-Star game. And as far as the ball that was rumored to be deadened, it certainly seems like it from the Orioles' perspective. I think we don't have any home runs so far, and Boston only hit one in that entire series. I know they're hitting them everywhere else, so maybe we're just getting the bad luck of the draw when it comes to the ball.
I think you've been watching more baseball than me, other than Shohei Ohtani, who I saw just hit a monster home run last night. I haven't been watching nearly as much baseball, and I was wondering, because you're right, a lot of these Orioles hits seem to just make it to the warning track. But at the same time, up in Fenway, the only one that made it out of the park was I think a JD Martinez home run.
Right.
So I'm really anxious to see what happens when we get home in Camden Yards. I think if I remember correctly, you typically see less home runs early in the spring as the weather's still chilly. The ball doesn't fly nearly as well in the cold weather, I think. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and that ball that Stanton hit tonight, that would have been out of the park in the 1920s, let alone the 2020s.
Yeah, that was going out. That was massive. Just and the sound Oof. Of that. Yeah. And of course, I think Armstrong knew it as soon as it came off the bat. You could just tell.
For sure.
Unfortunate for him. I really wanted Sean Armstrong coming. Hey, he just had a wonderful moment. Just had the birth of, I think it was his son. So he was just coming back from that. But you know what? You got to get back to business. You got to get back to work. And I'm sure that's what he'll do. So I'm confident. Sean had a great year last year. And this is just one out of many, many outings throughout the year.
Yeah, I don't think he's at risk of losing his spot in the bullpen or anything. He's a pretty solid guy, pretty reliable for the most part. I think it's just bad timing, and a powerful Yankees lineup got to him tonight.
No kidding. So who are you excited about seeing tomorrow night in the Orioles lineup? What do you want to see from Manager Hyde?
I want to see Santander back out there in right field, Let's get Mullins, keep running him out in center. Mountcastle on left. Rio Ruiz, let's get him back at second base. We'll get Trey back at first. I really want to see Dean Kramer. I want to see what he'll bring to the table. Wonder who's going to be catching him. I wonder if Cisco will get behind the plate since it's a right-handed pitcher, or if they're going to stick with Severino. He's kind of hot with the bat right now. Always a strong starter at the beginning of the season. So I want a close game. Let's not have a game where it looks like it's over in the fifth inning again.
Yeah, you nailed it. I'm right there with you. I want to see a similar lineup that we had up in Boston. I want to see Santander back in the lineup. I think he had 3 RBIs in the first 3 games. I want to see Rio manning second base. I want to see more of those electric plays, and
Right.
and absolutely Dean Kramer. This is his opportunity. I know that we're going to see a lot of guys. It was so much fun tonight to watch Max Stroller. It was fun, last night when we saw Tyler Wells come in and pitch well. So it'll be interesting to see. I think that the only guys in the bullpen that we haven't seen yet, Wade LeBlanc.
That might be it.
Yeah, we've seen pretty much everybody else. It'll be interesting to see if Cesar Valdez comes back in. Maybe he comes back in. If it's a tight game, he closes it out for us again. Gets save number 3 in 4 games. So we'll see what happens there.
We haven't seen Tanner Scott since opening day, I don't think. And the one thing I meant to mention when we were talking about Jorge Lopez is he does pretty well, at least the first time through the lineup. Even the second time he was okay. I wonder if he's a guy you could use as an opener down the line once, some more of these guys like Keegan Aiken earns his way back into the rotation, or maybe even have him pitch a time or two through the lineup and then bring a guy like Wade LeBlanc in, different velocity, arm type, handedness. Could just mix things up a little bit.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we saw with Adam Plutko. And I think that that's the perfect role for some of these guys. And it's the role that I think Sean Armstrong served for a while, but we've seen a lot of guys come in and do that. You're right. I think that there's, some of these guys, they're just, they're really set up to kind of go through the lineup twice. The third time is when it becomes dangerous. We see where guys like John Means gets even better, the third time through. But that's a rare example. That's an exception to the rule, I think. So it'll be interesting to see. So far, we've seen Matt Harvey, get pulled before 5. The same thing that we saw today with Jorge Lopez. Maybe these guys get a little bit better as the season goes on. But yeah, I think that that's something that I wouldn't be surprised to see Hyde embrace. Putting in those long relief arms. Come the middle of the 4th. Beginning of the 5th.
Yeah, and this, we're not expected to be in contention. So if you're going to experiment, no better year or season to do it than this one. Play around and maybe you'll find something that works.
Absolutely. Well, Bob, I doubt that we're going to be asked to do another broadcast, considering we probably brought some bad luck to the team. But we'll see. This has been a lot of fun for me. For everybody that's out there, if you're listening, be sure to check and follow Birdland Sports on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. You can find me at I Just Like the Duck Twitter account at Orioles Podcast. And Bob, I'll let you give your plug.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I do a minor league show, a Orioles baseball show focused on the minor leagues through Baltimore Sports and Life. You can find it. It's called On the Verge. And I write articles for Baltimore Sports and Life, a weekly column where I go over the 3 up and 3 down, the 3 players that have had the best week following, and the 3 worst. I could do a better job of explaining it, but that's what it is.
I like it. And again, I'm anxious, just like everybody else, to once minor league baseball gets going again, and reading up on some of these younger guys that are on the verge, and hopefully we'll see by the end of the year.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's fun to follow. It was a great show. Great doing this with you tonight.
Yeah, Bob. Yeah, you guys take care, everybody. Be sure to check back tonight. Hopefully the Orioles will be in the win column. I haven't checked around the division yet to see the scores, but hopefully by the time we log off, we're actually still in first place. They can't take that away from us yet.
Not yet.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Have a good one.